What's up, everyone? This is Cash Me Out. Welcome back to the vlog. This is episode number 2, and I'm so excited to share this one because it gets absolutely wild. I'm going to be breaking it all down, so whether you're here to learn, sweat the action, or just love the game, you're definitely in the right place, so let's get right into it. This is a local private game. It's 1-3, and we buy in for $500. Alright, kicking it off, we're in the +1 position. There's a $6 button straddle and we have ace queen of diamonds. We open it up to 25, everybody folds, and then the button calls for 19 more. With 50 in the middle, we go heads up to a flop of 8-3 queen, all hearts. We flop top pair, but the board is very ugly. We lose to any 2 hearts, but we beat a lot more draws, and that's why I should have bet here for like 25, but instead we did check it over to the button and they check it back. This could mean that they have a small heart in their hand, because if they had 2 hearts or at least 1 high heart card in their hand, I believe that they would bet here in position. The turn is the 6 of hearts, so now we pretty much lose to every draw that we just talked about, so betting here is quite suicidal, so we're going to check it over to the button who also checks it back. This could mean that he has a small heart in his hand or some value that he wants to take to showdown. So when the river comes out, the 2 of spades, we deliver an over the pot size bet of 75 to pressure pretty much every hand that he could have here. He thinks about it for a moment, but then also realizes that if we lose the first hand of the night, we're just going to pack our chips and cash out. So he ultimately folds and we scoop up a pot of 50 bucks. The very next hand, we're under the gun. There's a $6 button straddle, and our starting stack here is about 550, and we look down at queen 10 of hearts. Honestly, after the last run out from the last hand, looking down at this makes me feel that this is better than the top of our under the gun range. So with that said, I open it up to 25. The player to my left calls, and the player in middle position 3 bets to 90. It folds all the way back to us, and we look over at the player to our left who just called our bet. It looks like he's not putting any more money in, so we have a decision to make. The player who 3 bet us only has about 120 or 130 left in his stack, so if we make this call, we only have to put in 65 more. There's already 140 in the pot with his $90 bet, and there's only about 130 more that, we could possibly lose or win. So with that said, we stick in the call because we're degenerates, and the player to our left folds. With 2-10 in the middle, we're going heads up to a flop of 2-3-8 with 2 hearts. This is a dream flop for us, and we're happy to get it in for this draw. But we're going to check it over to the middle position because he only has 1 move with like a half pot bet left. And as expected, he does rip it in, and as per our plan, we snap it off. This player is so fun to play with though. He always gives action, is always getting it in. So when I call, I immediately flip my hand over tournament style. Not because I think I'm best, but for the spirit of good fun to have him sweat with us. And in turn, he flips his cards over showing ace king with the king of hearts. So let's hit the racetrack. The turn card is red, but it's the king of diamonds, followed quickly right after by another red card, the ace of diamonds. So our flush draw bricks out, and the middle position player scoops a pot of 570 bucks. And that's okay, because we're happy to give players like that some action. In the very next hand, we play a game called Choco Loco. It's my first time playing it, and I had the rules explained to me at the table. It's very similar to PLO. The difference is that after everybody puts in their $10 pre-flop or $5 pre-flop, whatever the pre-flop agreed bet is for the PLO, we get to see the 2 boards for free, as usual. But the difference here is that when the action is on you after the flop, you have one of 2 options. The first option is you can fold your hand, or the second option is you can bet the initial pot value, which in this case is $100 because we all put in $10 pre-flop. So in this case, players can either put in 100 or fold. After that, we get to see a turn and river for free, and there's no more action. It is a super degenerate game, but now I love it. So in this hand, we look down at a pair of deuces, the 3 of hearts, and the 4 of diamonds. And we go to a flop which comes, the top board, ace, deuce, 7, rainbow, and the bottom board, king, 10, ace, rainbow. So we flop a set on the top board with a gutter to the nuts, but the second board is dead to us and we definitely disown it. So it's on us. We're not folding, so that means that we're putting in the $100. 2 other players put in the 100 as well, and that means there's no more action. So that means that 3 of us are going to be sweating the turn and river together. This game is for degenerates, so I flip over my hand so that everyone can sweat together. But the bad news is that one of the callers has pocket 7s. So that means our set is no good because they have a bigger set. But we do have that gutter to the nuts on the top board, which is our only hope of collecting any money in this pot. The turn for the top board comes the 5 of spades. In the wise words of Wolfgang, bang! We have the nuts, but we now need to fade a spade on the river. The bottom board turn is a jack of hearts, making it even less worthy of our love and attention. So to the river, the jack of clubs up top and the 9 of spades on the bottom. That was too close for comfort, but our straight holds and we scoop half of the $400 pot. If you made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you for watching, and if you enjoy it, please hit that like and subscribe button because it would mean a lot to me and would help a lot with the algorithm on YouTube. Before this hand, we played a Choco Loco where we lost $100. So starting off this hand with about 315 in our stack, we're in the big blind and we look down at 9-7 offsuit. There's a bet for 20 from our friend with Ace King from the earlier hand. 3 callers after him, and then it's on us, and we call because it's like 5-1 odds, and 9-7 is my favorite hand. With 100 in the middle, we go off 5 ways to a flop of 7-3-5 with 2 diamonds. We've got top pair with a garbage kicker and a couple backdoor possibilities. I check and then it checks around. The turn is the 5 of clubs, bringing in another flush draw. I'm in the big blind, so there should be a lot more 5s in my range. We also have top pair, which could be good given that it checked through on the flop, although it's possible someone might be checking back a set of 7s even though we block it, or a set of 3s. However, this is unlikely given that it's 5 ways. We could also be losing to 6-4, but again, 6-4 is a hand that should really be in my range. So with that said, to fold out any overcards or big pairs and to extract maximum value from any flush draws, I put out a pot size bet of 100. It's also possible that ace high might call here, expecting me to be on a flush draw. Our friend from the earlier hand puts in the call and everyone else folds. He's a super action player like I said before, so with him snap calling, I imagine he's on one of those flush draws here or has ace high or even both. So with 300 in the pot, the river is the 3 of hearts. In my mind, everything is bricked out and a pair of 7s should be good here, especially against this player. So instead of barreling again, I check to allow for any missed draws or ace highs to bluff. And knowing this player, he definitely has a ton of those in his range. So I check it over to him, and as expected, he instantly jams the remainder of his stack, which is about $100, and we call, creating a pot of $500, and he shows 6-4. Of course he has this hand. Honestly, we played this hand terribly. In hindsight, maybe a second barrel on a double paired board would have folded out any straights, but in my opinion, 6-4 is such an unlikely hand to show up here that check calling is probably the better play given how many air balls could bluff the river. But anyway, best way to play this hand though for sure is to just fold pre-flop. So right now we've been crippled down to about $80. The next hand, there are a bunch of limpers. We're on the button and the table thanks steam is about to come out of my ears. So when it's on me and I look down at ace king of hearts, I just open jam for $80, expecting at least one caller because these guys love to gamble, especially since they've committed themselves to the pot by limping in for $3 already. And we're doing this from the button, so it looks extra punty, but it just so happens to be that we have a hand in this spot, a really good one, and we do get one caller, creating a pot of about 165, maybe 170, and we're off to the flop. The dealer felt bad for us and our measly $80, so he puts out king, king, 7, rainbow. Our caller tells us he's drawing very slim, so I told him not to say that because that adds more odds to us losing. Anyway, the turn is the 5 of spades and then the queen of hearts on the river, and we scoop and are somewhat back to life in this thing. The next hand we're on the button again, and we've got a button straddle for 6 out there, and we look down at Jack 8 offsuit, primo. Under the gun opens for 15, which is a really small amount given the straddle, and there are 3 callers after him, and then we complete. With 75 in the middle, we go off to a flop of 8-5-7 with 2 clubs. We have top pair with some backdoor straight outs. Under the gun continues for 50 into 75 here, and our friend from the earlier hands calls the 50. We know he likes his draws, and that's honestly what we put him on right away. It folds to us, and this board is not a board that favors the under the gun's range. He loses to so much here, like 2 pairs, sets, and honestly, since I only had to put $9 more in the middle from the button, it's very possible I could have 6-9 here. And the under the gun player knows this, so when I jam for 140, the player behind him is too deep, so under the gun has to fold. Our friend comes along as usual though, but I know we're ahead for now. Please dealer, no clubs. The turn is the 10 of hearts, so now we lose to 10-9 and Jack 10, but again, I don't put him on a straight draw, I put him specifically on a flush draw, and the river is the 6 of spades. So with me thinking that we're good, this is a good board for us, he turns over ace 4 of clubs. So yes, he was on a club draw, but he ended up backing into the baby end of a straight, so we get scooped again. And now we're left with nothing. But we're not done yet. We're buying back in for another 500. Our image looks absolutely terrible, so there's going to be a lot of opportunities to make back what we lost and some. Trying to find some redemption. We're sitting on a new stack of 500 in middle position with a button straddle to 6. We look down at Queen Jack offsuit. We open it up to 20 and we get 2 callers behind. With 60 in the middle, the flop comes Queen 7-4 with 2 spades. We got top pair and we want to get value from any straight or flush draw or smaller pairs. So we continue for 45 into 60 and both players call behind. With 2 callers, one of them's got to have a spade draw, and one of the callers is our rival from previous hands, so he could have any smaller pair here that he's willing to continue with. So with 195 in the middle, the turn is the 9 of hearts. So none of those flush draws or straight draws got there on this turn card, and the only thing I believe that we could be losing to here would be Queen 9, or someone maybe turned a set of 9s on us, but I believe that those 2 situations are very unlikely, and for that reason I think it's very important to continue to try and extract value from flush and straight draws that called us on the flop. So for that reason I bet out for 110 into 195 because I believe that's the highest price that these guys would be willing to pay for those draws. The player to our left calls in what seems to be a very frustrated way, and our friend from previous hands starts to cut out chips looking like he's gonna raise, and he thinks about it for a while, but then he ultimately folds because if he would have put in a raise there, we would have obviously had to fold as well. Our kicker isn't that good with top pair, but we're very happy that he folded there, and we're off to a river. With 415 in the middle, the river is the 3 of clubs. The only hand that gets there is 5-6, and the only 5-6 I imagine to get to this river would be the 5-6 of spades, which is unlikely. I've seen this player to my left blast off on missed draws in previous hands against other players, so for that reason, seeing as how the main draw bricked out and the way he called me on the turn, I check it over to him to allow for bluffs. As expected, he puts out a bet of 200, and this is just what we wanted, so we quickly put in the money. He says that we're good, we flip over our hand and we're scooping up a pot of $815. We're climbing out of the hole and we're doing it fast. Our new stack size is 870, so that means we're only down 130 on this session. We bleed a tiny bit before the next hand, and we start it with 800 in our stack. There's a button straddle to 6 and a limp, and we're in middle position and look down at Queen 9 of hearts. We bump it up to 25 and get 3 callers. One thing to mention is, the older gentleman to my direct left only puts money in pre-flop with super premium hands, so when he calls, that means we're very behind. With 100 in the middle, the flop comes queen 6-7 with 2 spades. We smash top pair with some backdoor straight draws. To get value from flush and straight draws and smaller pairs, I continue here for 40. The player to my left calls. This is very alarming. His range just got infinitely smaller. He either has king queen, ace queen, kings, or aces. I'm not joking. The player behind him makes the call as well. This is the player who tried to bluff us on a similar board earlier. The other player folds, and with 220 in the middle, we go 3 ways to the turn, which is the ace of diamonds. This is a card that's definitely going to slow us down because, like I said, the player on our left has a very narrow range. So when I check, he checks as well, which is interesting, and the player after him decides to take the betting lead, putting 75 in the middle. It's a small bet, like he's trying to build the pot more for what I believe to be as a draw. I call the 75, and so does the player to my left. I don't think he'd be check calling the turn with ace queen or an overpair for deception with so many draws out there, so his range just got even smaller. Honestly, I think he has specifically king queen here. The pot is now $445, and the river comes the 7 of hearts. All the draws missed, which means we're only worried about the player to our left's hand. But we have a plan on getting max value even though we're probably beat. The player who we believe missed his draws has a tendency this game of blasting off after missing. So we will use this opportunity to scare the player to my left off his hand. We check, hoping that the last player to act will blast off. Guys, we are absolutely locked in here. The last player bets out for 150 into 445. It's a super small bet, but he's probably thinking we check twice now and he can try to push us off by making it look like value. But I know better, so my option here is either raise or call. There's absolutely no value in raising here because we're only going to get called by better in the odd chance that he has a 7 or something crazy like that. But we also need to get the player next to us off their hand. Honestly, in normal circumstances, this may not be correct, but in this situation with this player, I choose to just call. Why? Because if I'm calling what looks like a value bet, the player next to me, who most likely has a naked queen, will have to fold regardless of the odds, because he can't be good on a paired ace-high board. Also, it may look like I want him to call after me for more value. Like I said, the player next to me definitely does not want to put money in without a really strong hand, and may not know that the player who just bet out is probably bluffing into 2 people. Anyway, those are his cards flying across the table into the muck, and the player behind him says that he missed. So, we turn over the ugliest winning hand to scoop a $745 pot.
I folded a better queen!
I know you did. Anyway, this was a really fun hand to play, and now we're no longer stuck. We're actually up on the session. Our new stack is $1,315. In this final hand, we're on the button and we look down at ace-6 of clubs. Under the gun opens it up to a dealer-friendly 24. There are 2 callers in middle position before it gets to us, and I don't really like this hand too much for a 3-bet, so we just call as well, and so does the big blind. So we're off to a flop 5 ways with 120 in the middle. The flop comes Jack, 9, King, Rainbow. We have ace high, a backdoor flush draw, as well as a backdoor straight draw. The action checks around, gets to us, and we check it also to see a free card. The turn comes the 8 of clubs, giving us the nut flush draw. Middle position leads out for 60. It's possible he might already have a straight or 2 pair. When he gets a call before us though, it prices us in to draw to that last club, so we call as well, and so does the big blind. The river is the 7 of clubs. We have the absolute butternutters. And what's even better, the middle position player throws out a nearly pot-sized bet of 300. It folds to us, and at this point, I'm praying he's got a smaller flush or the nut straight because we only got 1 move, and that's to jam for 500 effective. It folds back to the middle position player, and he rolls his eyes, sighs, and flicks in the call. We show our hand, and he shows 3-4 of clubs. That's so sick! Flush over flush. We scoop a pot of $1,360, putting our stack at $2,010. So we give a little back by straddling and playing some smaller pots. So here's the final result. We're in for 1,000 and we're out for 1,900. That's a profit of 900 bucks. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment your favorite hand, and subscribe. See you next time.